Understand that the enemy wants you to destroy yourself, and the fact that you want to kill yourself, or the fact that you want to give up and give in, is actually a literal sign that God has something bigger for you, much bigger for you than what you're in right now.
Guys, we're here with the man that needs no introduction, Mikey Lucas, my big brother, mentor, fund manager of American Energy Fund, and you've installed now $170 million worth of solar installs. So thank you for coming on, Mikey.
Yeah, brother.
For the people that don't know you yet, if you want to give us a little intro,
sure,
just to help the crowd.
Yeah, so Mikey Lucas, I'm born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. 3-time college dropout. Married the girl of my dreams. I'm a Christian. I'm a husband. I'm a son. I'm an uncle. Yeah, dude, I have a passion for helping young men, 20 and 30-year-olds, understand finances so that they can be set free from the limitations of being broke. Not only that, but I think I can, with your help, but single-handedly lower the divorce rate by helping young men understand finances so that we can take that one factor out of why do marriages divorce is because of money. So I really, it's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about it, because I want to really help guys understand money, and then I think more good people need money so that we can go change the world rather than bad people. So,
coming up on your journey, you've been in sales, you've sold everything on the face of the earth. Yeah. You've mentioned to me a lot that you've had like a turbulent journey almost.
Sure.
Could you unpack that for us a little bit?
Yeah. So I think my sales career started with I think chocolate bars, right, back in the day. And I realized that my mom was really good at selling, so I knew that we kind of had a niche for that in the family. And so every like fundraiser we had to do for school and stuff like that, she would obviously help us sell, but then we would go and sell them. So I kind of had my first my hit of dopamine rush when I would close one of the neighbors on a couple candy bars, and then I got into college, got recruited to do alarm sales. And it was a mess, dude. Right at the beginning, it was a mess. These guys had a contract for, I think it was like 500 accounts. I think is what it was, and it was their 500 or 1,000 accounts. And once they did 500 accounts, they would get this basically something like $100,000 or $200,000 bonus. And before they got to that 500 account mark in the summertime, they left and got recruited by some other company with an even worse deal. And I was just like, wait, what? This doesn't even make sense at all in business. But I was like, oh, well, these guys recruited me, and I guess I'll just go with the flow because I don't, I'm the lowest on the totem pole, and that's what I knew, just to be, work your way to the top. So work your way from the bottom up and earn your way to the top, right? So did that, got into, straight from alarms into solar, and sucked, man. I was not very good at first. I was not very good at all, but, a 3-sport athlete, played football, baseball, wrestling. I had that dog in me, I knew that these other guys that were there for 2-3 years were a little bit better than me, but if I could bridge the gap and limit how much time, I was spending partying, because I wasn't partying at the time at all, and I was just doing straight, learning as much as I possibly could. I knew that I would eventually get there, but if it took them 3 years to do, 10 deals, 15 deals a month, I could probably do that in a year and a half. And it did take me about a year and a half, 2 years to get to that point. But, then you have, the whole laws and rules and regulations in Nevada. Energy shut Nevada down. So it went from 100% dollar for dollar net metering to zero. So we ended up moving to Texas. The whole Tesla buyout was a crapshoot again. I left to go back to Vegas. Worked for a big real estate investor, flipper. Got mentored by him. Learned how to buy my first property. Wholesaled a bunch of properties to him. That was really cool. And then I got back into solar. Got recruited by Sam Taggart to Solcius, had the number 1 direct office there with those guys for a while, and then from there it was they couldn't fulfill. So I had to, I was telling you guys earlier at breakfast, I was like, running a business is not fun. It's much better, it's much better to just go and sell. It's a lot easier to just go sell. But at the end of the day, I knew I could trust myself with the money and be able to run this thing. So I said, screw it, I'm gonna go make this thing happen. And I partnered up with a guy for about a year. He was one of the top guys at Solar City, and after about a year, he had some health issues, and it really started messing with his brain a little bit. And we're good now, thank God, because I prayed for that kid a lot, man, and I really wanted that kid to get better and to heal his sickness. But that was a really bad, backstabbing, instant, partner that broke broke down. I haven't really talked about it honestly at all, but now that we're good, I can kind of start talking about it again, because I was like, I don't got any problems with the guy at all. He had problems with me. And now that we're good, you know, we kind of like, you know, came to truths about everything, and you know, it showed like I actually did care about this kid, and what he initially thought I was doing was incorrect, like completely false. Like no leg. There was no leg to stand on his allegations, you know. But it took 3 years to find that out. So after that, started my own company. Exited a couple years ago. Started an energy fund. So right now I've got just over $3 million in assets under management. So we did pretty good for our first basically year. We're going to get to 20 by the end of this year, assets under management, and we're going to just keep on growing. So, you know, super passionate about helping out the door-to-door guys, the door-to-door family. I got a software that's out now that's built for golden door guys to help them go from a single golden door to a double golden door. You know, it's like I was listening to 10X the book this morning. It's like, you know, if you have a product, which is why we obviously install solar, which is why you install solar, is if we have a product that we know is better for the homeowner or better for the client, like we're doing them a disservice. So I built a software that helps out with efficiency and leverages AI to help create to create raving fans and automate the customer experience. So it's really cool, man. I got a lot of stuff going, man. The podcast is going really well. I mean, life is good, brother. Yeah.
Life has changed a lot since the 2 years we did our first podcast.
Yes, dude.
Life has changed a lot.
I actually recently just watched that again. Recently, within the last 2 weeks, I watched it again because I just wanted to see where I was at. I do a lot of reflection. I just watched it. I was like, you've changed a lot, bro. You've changed a lot. I was like, let's go. Yes.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. I mean, thanks to you, brother. When you say you had like turbulent partnerships coming up.
Yeah. I've had a couple of those.
For the people that are coming up, like for me, right? I'm starting to experience turbulent relationships in my journey.
Yeah.
What would you tell a younger cat how he should navigate those turbulent relationships?
So my mentor has always said, don't do partnerships. And they're doing it as a fail-safe. So because what most people want to do is they want to go, well, let's partner up and do this together. So the first thing is it's really funny. I was in my spiritual journey and relationship journey. I read a book called "If You're in My Office, It's Too Late." It's a marriage book. It's a divorce attorney that wrote a book about, you know, why marriages failed, and from a divorce attorney's point of view. And he said, if you're in my office, it's too late. So the point that I got out of that I interjected in my business was, you should prepare for death or divorce always. In a business. He said that I don't believe in divorce, but you should prepare for death. So my wife and I have prepared for death. We've got a good amount, you know, a few $1 million worth of life insurance and a plan and stuff like that for her. So if I died or she died, that, you know, our family will be set up and taken care of. But in a business relationship, you have to prepare for the exit, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be really in business forever. Like what? Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are like the only two guys I know that are like done business together for that long, successfully. But again, if you look at what the billionaires are doing with those partnerships, at least they have a system. So what kind of a system have they lined out? So if you look at like Ray Dalio's systems and processes, you just have to have a structure on really on like, I don't want to say it's like, you know, what you're in charge of, because at the end of the day, as you're running a business, you know, if your partner's not holding their leg, you can't complain about it. You just got to go hold their end of the bargain, right? So, you know, outdo one another in showing honor to each other. Like, just go and fill in. Maybe you are not going to be good in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, whatever from now, and they need to step in. Just outdo one another in showing honor, and always try to outserve one another. But you should absolutely prepare for the exit, and like what that's going to look like, and what do we do with the assets, and what do we do if you die? You know, you should definitely have key man insurance on each other. You know, that's a sweet tax strategy and investment strategy you can do. But yeah, dude, I think that one of the hardest parts about partnerships is being selfless. Being selfless, and most people just are very selfish. They're doing it for the money. They're doing it for what they're going to get out of it. And you know, I don't struggle with that as much, but I definitely see it at times. And then I have to just say, oh, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for the greater good of what we originally planned on. So yeah, prepare for divorce, prepare for the breakup, and that's a smart thing, dude. Yeah, because you want to go. What if right now you're extremely excited about selling solar and installing solar and running off training teams, but in 6 years from now, 7 years from now, you're like, dude, I want to go like sit on the beach for 2 years. There's nothing wrong with that. Just prepare for the exit so that you guys can successfully exit if you guys do.
Transitioning from your solar career, now being a fund manager, having millions of dollars, and it's just continuously going up.
Yeah.
What's been your biggest learning lesson on the transition?
That I am extremely grateful, Luis, that I worked the hours in door to door. It is almost the exact same thing as far as personal relationships, emotional intelligence, negotiation, sales, business, scaling businesses. It is almost the exact same thing. It's almost the exact same thing. And I was very aware and observing how I was at Solar City. I was watching how these meetings are ran and how they ran, Solar SCTV, Solar City TV. Like, I was very observant on how these companies were doing their process, writing them down, taking notes, so that when I eventually ran a solar office, then up to 4 offices, I knew how I could structure them. Same thing, and now in the financial side, venture capitalists running an energy fund, running a fund, it's very similar. I don't want to downplay how much more sophisticated I am now. Whatever, that's funny with my team. I'd say this is like the backwards hat Mikey, and then this is that character, and then this character is the suit Mikey. So when we talk about when we talk on LinkedIn, that's suit Mikey. When we talk on Instagram, that's backwards hat door knocker Mikey. So. But it's the same thing, man. The good thing is that I get to be the same person. So I didn't have to change. Yeah, sure, I'm wearing a suit, but it's like Eric Thomas. If you don't like me because I got a backwards hat, don't hire me then. Get out of here. You don't need this. You don't need what I got. You don't need this gift of God that has been given through me and is here now. So it's very similar, brother. There's so much similarity. So that's why I would encourage you and the listeners that what you're doing now, this vehicle you're in right now, whether it's solar, pest, whatever you're in, real estate, life insurance, whatever you're selling, this is just a vehicle of building character to get to the next level. And if you slack off now, you're gonna slack off when you get to the next level too. Because everyone, as you're listening, guarantee you all want to be real estate investors, right?
Yep.
Well, if you can't be a solar investor and invest in your business, how in the world and manage your business? How you gonna manage a real estate portfolio? Come on, it's Papa, you gotta be the same thing today that you're going to be in the future. It's all a training ground for the next vehicle.
Now, that was fire. Now you've been able to continuously get $30,000 in passive income every month. That means he doesn't even have to work, and he's still $30,000 a month. For the lost high school kid that is on food stamps, is your journey. You mentioned that you were hooked on drugs at one point. You mentioned that you were lost at one point.
Yeah.
What would you tell that lost high school kid on food stamps that really feels like it's the end of the world for him?
Understand that God has a purpose for you, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Understand that the enemy wants you to destroy yourself, and the fact that you want to kill yourself or the fact that you want to give up and give in is actually a literal sign that God has something bigger for you, much bigger for you than what you're in right now. So the fact that you're having those thoughts, those are not thoughts of you. The Bible says that Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but God comes to give you life and abundance, So if you're thinking about killing yourself, thinking about just, leaving, getting back into drugs or whatever, just understand that is a sign that Satan has your number. But if you just get back and lean back into the Word of God, get back into who God designed you to be, bro, just lean in. John 15:5, apart from me, I'm the branch, you are the vine, abide in me and I in you, and apart from me you can do nothing. So it's you gotta, what are you connected into? So that's the other thing, is proximity. So what kind of proximity do you have? What are you feeding yourself? I'm so sorry, but you gotta turn off Drake, you gotta turn off Lil Wayne, you gotta turn off Yeezy or Triple X. I don't know who these guys are or whatever. You get the point.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. I don't even know who these guys are because I don't care. Because I'm not being mentored by, big timers. I ain't got no job, but I'm still fly. I don't want a quarter tank of gas in my new E-Class. I don't want that. I want a full tank. And I want an E-Class. I want an Escalade. Presidential. I don't want the E-Class, and I want a quarter tank of gas, and I want no job. I don't do that. So who's your mentors? Who are you listening to? And understand that, your parents, unfortunately, have these word tracks that they'll tell you. Your friends, these word tracks that they'll tell you that are be safe, be safe, be safe. Right now, if you're on food stamps or if you're in the low, what you think is a rock bottom, or in a low season, you have to get out of the, be safe. There is no be safe now. You can't be safe. You have to now go be aggressive. You have to now go do more work. And that's just the thing, dude. It's you're probably doing less work. With AI now, I see these videos all the time. I literally I sent it to my team. There was one on the Instagram the other day. I was like, you can use AI and ChatGPT to make $10,000 a month. And I'm like, hold on. Can we hire somebody just to do that one thing, just to see if it's even possible? If this TikTok dude is talking about for real that you can make $10,000 a month, why aren't we hiring as many virtual assistants and just making $10,000 businesses promoting whatever the heck you guys are talking about? Like there is no excuse anymore, dude, with the internet. And if you don't have the internet, go to the library. It's free.
Boom. You mentioned there was a key word there on that rock bottom. You said it's a season.
Yeah.
On your journey, is it going to be ups, downs, or like for the people that are in rock bottom, like so they know it is just a cycle? How many cycles have you been through in your life?
Tons. It's kind of like I got it from Jim Rohn. He says, every winter, what's after winter? Or spring,
yep.
And then summer, and then fall, and then winter, and luckily it goes in that cycle.
Yeah.
Another way to look at it, a really cool phrase that I was going to look at is you're either in a storm, you're heading out of a storm, or you're heading into a storm. So it's either calm water, or it's murky water, it's waves, all that stuff, or you're heading out of one. So it's like either way you're in a cycle, and to understand that psychologically that everything is happening for you and not to you. Like it's eventually, this too shall pass, if you will. This too shall pass. And, it's like even like the highs. This too shall pass. It will pass. Like the highs of the highs are great and the lows of the lows are terrible. But if you can just not let your highs be too high and your lows not be too low, it's hard to stay even keel. I'm not an even keel guy. I got two speeds, bro. I got on and off. So it's hard to stay, not, oh my God, it's so bad right now. We just lost that. We just didn't do this. My wife, my job, the planes, the government, the president. It's hard to not try to sit and muck in the mire down there and relish in that. But the key is what are you inputting? So whatever goes in your ears or in your eyes directly affects your heart, which is where your head comes out of, and what comes out of your mouth. Jesus says not what goes into man that defiles him, but what comes out of his heart, what comes out of his mouth. So it's what are you feeding yourself mentally? Again, turn off Drake, turn off, I don't even care, turn off Joe Rogan, turn on some positive things that you can think about to get you out of that. And then not only that, I'll give you the last tip here is go help somebody else. When you're in your lowest, dude, I guarantee there's somebody lower than you, go help them. Go get a $5 Happy Meal delivered to the homeless guy dude, just go help somebody. Sometimes we're looking for a handout and God's asking you to be the handout.
You mentioned proximity is huge. How did younger Mikey get in proximity with all of your mentors?
I don't know, dude. I just I guess at my church, right? So I ended up just kind of gravitating towards the guys that were in business. And I just always gravitated to the guys who were in business. My neighbors were all business owners, big insurance guys, lawyers, doctors. I mean, I kind of was surrounded by it. We were definitely the brokest people in the neighborhood, but I was surrounded by it. So proximity there, growing up, hanging out with my friends that their dads own businesses was really the first start, I guess you can say. So my buddy Parker, I just saw his dad at the Golden Knights game the other day, and I was like, Mr. Blazer, do you remember me? And of course he remembers me, right? But it's been 10 years, at least 13 years at least now. And no, probably 15 years actually. I just saw him. I was so enlightened to see this man. And he used to take us out on the boat all the time. And I'm like, why is my dad not able to drive the boat? And this guy's able to do at any moment in time, all summer long, if we want to go to the boat, we can go on the boat. Why is my dad not doing that? So that's when I was like, okay, cool. Taking the thought process between being, safe, W-2, restaurant job, going to the casinos, which is what we do in Vegas, obviously, to how do I get into, as an entrepreneur, these guys own businesses. They didn't just own real estate, they own other businesses, brick and mortars, they're angel investors, and they invested in different things. So that was really the start of it. And then I started asking guys in my church about it. There's a guy named Mickey Griffin that mentored me for a while. And, he told me about real estate. And I was like, okay, this is cool. So, and then it was, dude, just God placed me in these top offices at Solar City. And I was just around hitters. I was just around guys that could hit. And they were just selling, bro. Selling. So just, what most guys have an issue with is they don't have somebody to shoot for. And they're shooting off of the manager that sells 4 deals a month. When in reality, they could be doing 8 to 10. But they think, well, I'm not as good as Luis is because I'm only doing this for 6 months or 6 years, whatever. You've been doing it for 10. So their proximity is the limitation. It's called the law of the lid.
I hope you guys have a notepad out.
Yeah, that was good. Run that back.
Run that back. So now I know it's like a continuous journey, right? You're not where you want to be, but you're ahead of the majority of everybody, right? Was your journey to what some people call the top, where you're at now, lonely?
100%. That's like the biggest myth, and I see it a lot on Instagram right now with all these like billionaires. Mark Cuban, and a couple other guys talk about it. Is they lied. Oh, Patrick David just talked about it too. Like they lied, and it's true. Andy Frisella, I heard him on one of our mastermind calls the other day talk about it too. It's like, man, like I don't know who told you, and you can become an entrepreneur that it's going to be you're gonna have a bunch of friends. No, yeah, it's very lonely.
How so?
It's very, very lonely because, first of all, when you're the top dog, you stand out, so everyone on the bottom actually is trying to take you down for the most part. And it's just, I don't know why that's the case, but it's a selfish thing. They don't like, which is why I want to always cheer you on, because I like when people cheer me on. So I like to be around people, right? I like to be around people that cheer me on. So if I want to be cheered on, I got to cheer you on. So when you win, I'm not like, dude, I could have got that deal, or I could have whatever. I'm like, let's go. Yes, come on, bro. Let's go. Go get more. Charge more for it. Let's go. Go deliver 2. Go get referrals. Let's go. Run it back. So it's lonely until I got to becoming in masterminds, joining Knockstars, right? Being with guys like that, being around other like-minded individuals. It was lonely until then. But the reason why it's lonely is because what you grew up to about 20 years old, you had your family. And if your family's not entrepreneurs, what you knew and were comfortable with for the first 20, 25 years of your life is no longer really a pool of energy. They're an anchor now. They're like, well, what's option A? What's option B? Right? What about college? What about, do they offer insurance? And you're like, excuse me? So it's lonely because your family initially most of the time doesn't support you. Your wife, a lot of times, initially doesn't support you. So it's lonely. You feel alone. But because we are very communal, we really want to talk to people, even if it's on an intimate basis or on a crowd basis, whether introvert or extrovert. We still want community. We desire men. We desire community. We're built for community, actually. We're designed to have community. So when we don't have that, it is very lonely.
You mentioned marriage a lot, and you mentioned you're married to the best woman in the world.
Yep.
How important has your marriage been to your success and your relationships?
Okay, bro. So 6 years ago, I started preparing for this. So it wasn't like you don't get to the Stanley Cup. So right now, Stanley Cup. You don't get to the Stanley Cup and win the Stanley Cup by preparing for the Stanley Cup the week before the Stanley Cup. You prepare for the Stanley Cup, first week of summer. Right? So you prepare for that way in ahead. So I prepared for marriage way in ahead because I had to prepare myself spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, verbally, psychologically. How do I serve this woman? How do I serve her so that she is, she's blossoming? So years ago, brother, I prepared for this years ago. The reason why I'm so passionate about marriage is because, and money and marriage is because our country needs men to stay in the home and raise their children. We need to fix that, and the only way we're going to fix that is if we can eliminate financial problems. Then obviously there's the sexual problems, which is another issue in and of itself. But if we can fix those problems, then more men can raise other men. And just, okay, now we got this cycle. We can break this over 10, 20 years, but if we don't start now, it's over. The country goes down. So, yeah, for marriage, it was I was prepared for marriage 4 or 5 years ago.
Now being married, if you had to summarize your biggest 3 lessons in marriage, what would you tell like me? Because I'm not married.
Sure.
And for the audience.
So like to be able to find that right girl for you, you're saying? Would that be helpful?
Or maybe like you already have a right girl.
Yeah.
But you want to keep the relationship thriving.
Sure.
Knowing what
as
you know.
An entrepreneur.
Correct.
Okay.
Knowing what you know now, if you had to summarize it in like 3 bullet points.
Sure.
What would have been your biggest lessons?
Okay, so if you're not married to her, you have the ability to cut her. So, and that's going to sound weird, but it's true. Again, it's reality. Because every great man had a phenomenal woman on their side. Every great man had a phenomenal woman. Every great man had a phenomenal woman by their side. So, not that you can't, first of all, let me back that up. Not that you can't be a great man and not have a woman by your side, but there's so many examples of all these solid men that had like really solid right-hand women. So first of all, if you're not married yet, you need to make sure that your wife, your girlfriend, absolutely hits every single one of your non-negotiables. So understand what those are. What is a non-negotiable? For me, she's got to serve in my church, serve in the church, and she's got to be a Christian, right? She's got to love God more than she loves me, because I'm going to be very hard to deal with. Second off, just finding your non-negotiables, then finding your negotiables. Okay, cool. Like she's got to be X, Y, Z. She's got to be whatever, right? And then your preferences, right? Preference to me was like colored eyes, Lebanese or Portuguese, and ideally Lebanese, Portuguese, or Italian preference, right? That could be a non-negotiable or preference too.